Welcome to the Backpacking and Blisters podcast, everybody. With me today is a man who has survived being struck by lightning, endured being attacked by a bear while listening to this very podcast, and most impressively, lived to tell the tale after eating the extremely high calorie and low nutritional content food poutine. Justin Outdoors, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on. And I'm here with the man who walks barefoot on the spot where he wants to set up his tent in order to lay down a footprint.
Ah, gotta bring in the footprints. Oh my gosh, that is the footprint. Thank you.
That kind of leads into the topic. It's kind of in line with what we're going to be talking about today. So
we got some backpacking scams, or like backpacking gear scams today. So I'm definitely excited to talk to you about that. And in case you can't tell, our usual fellow adventurers out there, Derek's not with us today. He's got some serious life stuff going on right now. So I got Justin. He's guest host, and man, we are honored to have you. So thank you so much for joining the show.
Happy to be here. It's you guys are awesome. Always awesome to hang out with.
Yeah, fun. Man. Well, we appreciate you. So like before we jump into the content, I got a couple like things on the agenda to talk about here. So we've been trying to work on our YouTube channel. We're trying to, be a fraction of what you are on YouTube. And so I put out like a new promo video that's supposed to be for like people that are new to our channel, just kind of like, what's our channel all about, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we had some of our guests on. Yeah, you commented on that and you didn't make the cut and you were a little like upset about that.
Mm-hmm. I thought we had something going. I thought we had something good. And then I look at you have everyone and their dog on on the trailer.
Everybody except for Justin. Yeah. No, I apologize. When we started recording the video podcast, we were using Zoom at the time, and we didn't know what we were doing, so I didn't have any of that original video footage. So yeah, you would have been first, man. So you'd have been first on the cut. But now awesome. That we're recording this, next time, exactly. We're recording this now, so we'll have some better stuff. But okay, so that was one thing. The other thing was, I was like a couple months ago, I want to say, I put out a trip invite email to you because we're going to be heading up to your area. Our July trip is going to be in the Banff area up in your neck of the woods. And I sent the email to you. It was something like 1:15 p.m. And by 1:30, so 15 minutes later, you're like, I'm in. I thought that was the most amazing email response time for a trip invite of all time, like that. So just thank you for that. I don't really have like a question. I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, it's in my backyard, and you guys are coming up here. I don't even know if you gave me like the dates at that point in time, but you might have.
I did. I hope I did. Okay. Yeah. So one of the guys that usually comes on our trip, I had invited back in like November, and he still hadn't responded, and that was just a couple months ago anyway. So I just thought, man, I don't know how you do it or how we can set the standard so that that's like what the expected response time is, but that was amazing. So thank you for that.
For sure. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that trip. I'm hoping it's has everyone started booking flights and everything for that trip up here? Because I don't know. There's some good spots that we might be going to.
Like I don't know. I mean, you're more well traveled than I am. Should we let's see, July right now? It is end of April or early May. Should we be booking flights at this point? Maybe.
I'd probably start. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll get on that. I was honestly like with the guys we have going. I was on them. I was kind of like the passport police. I was like, have you guys gotten your passports yet? And then
that's more
later,
important.
Checking in with that stuff. So
yeah.
All right. Last thing I want to talk about before we jump in today is you're not only a man with a super popular YouTube channel, you now have a podcast yourself out. So can you tell us like what your podcast is called, what your podcast is about, and how we can find that?
Yeah. So it was the last time I was on the show with you guys, it was kind of the impetus for it. I was like, I had a lot of fun. You guys are doing something really cool. I love the way that you can really interact with like the audience in a little bit more of an open way with the longer form of the podcast. So went out, started a podcast, and it's about the thing that I know best, which is gear. And I called it the Gear Priority Podcast with Justin Outdoors. It's on its own channel on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It kind of, if you Google at this point, it's kind of in the Google search engine.
Okay.
You'll be able to find it. It's all about diving deep. The kind of tagline is it's all about diving deep into the gear and technologies that help us be more comfortable and confident on our outdoor adventures. and got some pretty sweet guests. Started off with Dan Durston, got the designer of MSR stoves on, the designer of the new Rab sleeping pad. It's we go beyond kind of the features and spec sheets into some really kind of neat stories behind the gear and how it's developed.
Okay. So I've got, just as like a side comment, I've got Dan Durston on my like potential guest list for our show. You can be honest. Is this a good fit, you think?
I would
I'm gonna say no.
Dan's a super nice guy,
yeah,
but he's pretty serious. So depending on how you depending on how you set him up for it, like if he thinks he's coming on to a serious podcast, I think you might throw him for a little bit of a loop. But he's also a really easygoing guy. I would probably have a lot of fun with you guys either way.
So our podcast isn't secret. Like, you can go and listen to any episode at any point. So anybody that comes on our show can find out kind of what we're all about. But I didn't know if I was going to start off with a conversation with like, so Dan, Backpacking Magazine has you ranked. If he's going to like roll with that, if he's going to be like, actually, there is no Backpacking Magazine. So
I think he'd probably feel more like, what am I doing with my life if I don't know about this magazine where I've been ranked? Because he has an alert somehow, this sixth sense where he knows when Durston or Xmid has been mentioned anywhere in the world on the internet. So yeah, he'd probably be very concerned at that point in time.
We've talked about his gear before, so if he's that aware, then perhaps he's listened to that and then realized, okay, this might not be a good fit. I don't know. I've been going back and forth because your show is. Like, we wouldn't be a guest on your show because you're talking about, deep diving into gear and talking to
you will
experts.
Be. We're going to talk about the Jetboil.
For deep dive into gear? Turns on, like, goes fast.
Boils water.
Yeah, you'll lose credibility, so I wouldn't put that on you. But, all right, so if you want deep dive into gear and talk about engineering behind the gear, it sounds like sounds like you got quite the variety of guests on there. So yeah, check it out. Yeah. We'll circle back at that at the end of the episode. Make sure that we plug that again, and then we'll have that in the show description as well. So
yeah, if your cheeks are hurting from laughing too much watching or listening to your podcast, and you can hop over to mine. Guaranteed, no laughs. Just straight seriousness.
And you got a good sense of humor. I bet you pull it out. So all right, check it out. I know that we have a lot of folks that definitely want to dig into the gear a lot, and yeah, I don't know that we always hit the mark on that. So, but speaking of gear, we got gear scams, and let's get to it. So, all right, what constitutes in your mind a gear scam?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because I feel like most people in the world are good, especially like I think people running gear companies and stuff generally have good intentions. I don't think they're out there trying to scam people. So I look at it as more of something like maybe they didn't do their due diligence, and because of that, people are kind of getting ripped off with a piece of gear, or something's being pushed that maybe doesn't need to be anymore, or it's an outdated kind of perspective on things, and then it kind of comes off as a little bit scammy. Like, yeah, I can give an example with one of the items that it'll kind of really have a good metaphor for why I think it's a scam as well. But what about you? What are your thoughts around what a gear scam is?
So yours is basically like the company has good intentions, but they haven't done their due diligence. There's going to be some issues with the gear at some point along those lines. I think one of mine is similar to that. I think that if they're price gouging, they've got crazy prices for what they're offering. I think that's definitely like a gear scam. So I'll give you an example. This was actually formerly on my list. I took it off because I don't want to dig too much into this because I don't have all the stats. But basically, if you look at REI brand tents, I think it was before, the economy really started to take a little bit of a dive. They, out of nowhere, seemed to double in price for no reason. Like, their quality didn't seem to get upgraded. Like, it was just kind of the same gear. I don't even know if they had new models out, and suddenly their prices just doubled. And their prices are a lot more similar to kind of like, the Nemos and that type of thing, or that type of brand. And so to me, I'm like, okay, well, is there any sort of reason for the doubling in price? To me, that's kind of a little bit of a gear scam, maybe more than a little bit with the price thing. So that's one thing. Yeah. If they release misleading information about their product, and it's almost like the clickbait, but for purchasing, right? They're like, oh, our product will do this, but it doesn't really do that, or doesn't do that well. They're making promises they can't keep. then that to me is a scam, especially if they haven't done their due diligence. And then something that's, whether they intend it or not, is just low quality. Like it breaks way too easily. That to me, like, if because backpacking gear is expensive. And so if you're going to invest in something and it breaks or just like loses its function on the trail, that's a bummer, man.
And I do think there are companies out there who just fail to test their gear adequately before releasing it, or they expect the user to test the gear and then they'll be ready to make some tweaks after the first 1,000 units kind of fail in a very specific way. And yeah, I think that's pretty scammy. I think some companies are maybe aware that they're doing that and just don't feel bad about it.
Right. And I don't know that they're always trying to be scammy necessarily. There's, some that are out there, but I think that it's just like, however you want to shake it out, like it ends up being a scam. So I guess we can categorize these as we go and kind of like what type of a scam you think it is. But I got a long list here. I'm going to try to narrow it to 3.
How many do you have?
Let's see. I already knocked off the REI brand tents. I've probably got like 5 or 6. And I don't want to hit that many. So I have a feeling we have some crossover, but I'll let you go first. What do you got? Number 1.
Right. And all of mine are probably going to be pretty controversial.
Yes.
I'm not really pulling any punches with these, and there's some pretty big names and conglomerates that might come after me. So if you don't hear from me again after this podcast, I've been taken out by the first one being the Merino wool and the Merino wool conglomerate out there. I don't think they're a scam in that they don't perform, like that they're not good, but I think there's a lot of promises that are made with Merino wool that don't stack up. Like they advertise them as being like they dry quickly, they wick fabric, like basically it's advertised as being the best fabric for everything under the sun.
This is the best fabric for everything. Like make backpacks out of it.
Yeah, exactly. But there's the big kind of failure points that I've seen with Merino wool based in the field, and the science backs this up too, is that it doesn't dry quickly. It holds on to a ton of moisture. Mm-hmm. It might feel dry, but only up until it's saturated, and then it's not very durable relative to other fabrics out there at all. So like for things like socks, the holding on to moisture I find just leads to a lot of blisters. A lot of people I know who deal with blisters, they switch from Merino wool to a synthetic sock, and it solves all of their problems.
Wow.
So it's I think my second one is going to be a very similar kind of vein, but
So when you say the companies are going to be coming after you, you're saying like Merino wool companies, not like the sheep themselves. The sheep aren't going to be offended by that.
The sheep. I don't know who's behind Big Merino, but it might be the sheep. There might be some alien sheep out there who doing their thing.
Alien sheep. Yeah, I don't. Okay, there's a ton of sock companies out there, man. A ton of wool sock companies. When I go to the outdoor retailer show, I always find like I find a new one every time. There's just brands everywhere. So you're saying what? Okay, just to clarify, you're not wearing the wool socks, and you're wearing synthetic socks. So do you know what the synthetics for the socks are that you're wearing? Like what the materials are?
Usually I try to go for a nylon or a nylon polyester blend, but ideally some sort of like odor reduction mechanism in there, because that's one nice thing about Merino. It doesn't stink as quickly, but if you're gonna have tons of blisters, I think I'd rather take the stink than the blisters.
Yeah. Honestly, the people that I know have blisters are more the cotton people. I haven't or the ill-fitting
Merino
shoe.
Hold around the same amount of moisture relative. Mm-hmm. Like it's not that much different for cotton compared to Merino wool relative to like a nylon or polyester.
Right, but the wool does wick though. Like it does take the moisture away from your foot. You're saying that if it gets saturated with like too much sweat, or if you walk through a stream, that's where you're coming into some problems. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're saying that they're providing misleading information, and Merino does not do everything that it says it does.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad. I use Merino wool for certain specific use cases.
Yeah.
But as a catch-all for everything, I think there's a lot of misleading information out there.
Right. Okay. We had Marty Morissette on a few months ago, and he said the same thing. He's like, I don't use that at all, because it also takes. I think he was saying it took the moisture out of the air too. On a humid day or humid night or whatever, and so it was making the gear or the clothing actually heavier. So I'll admit I still have the wool socks. I do have some synthetic socks as well, so I'll have to pay more attention. So that's a good one, man. I think you're kind of challenging my thoughts here.
I think a few of these might, but okay. Let's go to one of yours. One of your 5.
Yeah, I'll get to one. I'm just thinking. I'm still processing through what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Like, should I aggressively challenge the wool companies at the next Outdoor Retailer show? Like, it's coming up like next month-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you should bring the microphone and do some. I don't know what is that 22 minutes. I think you guys were talking about doing a 22 minutes type episode at the Outdoor Retailer show, and I'll back you up. I'll be there too. So we'll go and we'll talk to Big Merino.
Wait, are you really be there? Are you there?
Yeah,
are you coming?
I'm gonna be there.
It's Salt Lake City.
Yeah, Salt Lake City. Mid-June.
Okay. All right. We'll connect for sure. I was going to say, I'll take a clip of this episode and then I'm just going to show them the clip and be like, what do you have to say about that? But I could just be like, hey, there's the guy right over there.
I'll just wear a t-shirt. Merino sucks. See what happens.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Okay. All right. We'll circle back to that. That's really interesting. My first one on my list is, and for like multiple reasons, I've got ultralight tents. All right. And so I think this is a scam because of the crazy prices. I think that we're getting, okay. Like, are you aware of how expensive some backpacking tents are? The ones that maybe don't get talked about often, like in backpacking circles. Like, what's the high end for a two-person tent that you're aware of? Let me ask you that question.
I think probably the like $600 to $700 range of like the Dyneema tents, but then you have like the Hyperlight mountain gear, like probably throwing around like $1,000 tents, and that's I think that's the high end that I'm aware of. But is there higher?
Oh yeah. I did some research. Let me introduce you to a tent brand called I think the brand is called Terra Nova. And they have the Terra Nova Voyager Ultra 2. I think they use some material called Ultra. You know, you're the expert there. It's an Ultra 2-person tent. Okay, so this is supposed to be ultralight. I think it's made specifically for adventure racers, but it's in the backpacking realm as well. So 2-person tent. I think so. The nice thing about it is it's freestanding and it has a decent sized vestibule. Okay. All right, weighs in at 2.2 pounds as a result. So this is not one of the lightest weight options on the market.
No, that's pretty heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So it's currently on sale for $1,980. $1,980.
And that's American dollars, probably.
American dollars.
Wow.
That's right. I should have specified. I've got pounds, I've got miles, I got the American. You can talk grams and the Canadian stuff if you want to, but that's what I got. So 1980, and that's not, I think it normally is like 2,200. And so you compare that to like a Hyperlight tent, like you mentioned. The one I looked up recently is it's $700. That weighs in at 1.5 pounds. So you can shave, whatever, like over half a pound, almost 3/4 pound, really. And but you're still spending $700 on that. Yeah. And so then comparing that to the Nemo Hornet, which is 2 pounds and a few ounces, somewhere in the 2 to 6 ounce range, depending upon how you shake it out, at $400. Okay, these are all expensive, but if you're comparing between them, like you're shaving less than a pound in some cases and spending hundreds of dollars or more than $1,000 to shave about a pound between the Hyperlight and the Terra Nova. So like these seem like egregious prices to me to shave to shave the same kind of weight you could have by just bringing one water bottle instead of 2, essentially, right? So
do you know why? Like, is it because it's a very niche product for that adventure racing group? Is that how they're getting away with that? Like, who's buying a tent that's expensive and still not the latest weight?
I know, but adventure racers are also like a lot of them are backpackers, hikers. They do other things, and so it wouldn't take much for them to find a lighter weight option that's in the backpacking realm. I don't know. Huh. Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, the freestanding thing is nice because they're typically crashing for just a few hours at a time, so they just want to set something up easy, like throw their gear in there and crash out and not have to try to balance the trekking poles or tie it out to different stakes or whatever. But I don't know. What's your take on the tent market in general? Like, upgrade your tent, the idea is spend hundreds of dollars to shave a couple ounces. Like, what's your thought process there?
I think people are replacing their tents too quickly, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit recently as far as like whether we have even seen any durability issues with tents in a long time, because they're just getting replaced too quickly. Whereas I remember like when I first started backpacking, I had my first tent for 10 years, and wasn't until the PU seam sealing started to peel off that it really like was done. Then I could have re-seam sealed it. So I think, yeah, tents are getting replaced more often than they need to for pretty marginal gains, I think. But I get it too. Like, for a lot of people, the gear aspect of backpacking is part of the hobby, and it's enjoyable, and like buying gear and selling their gear is part of the experience. So I get it. But if I was out there and I was a new backpacker, I wouldn't I would want to tell a new backpacker, like, don't feel like you have to go buy hundreds of dollars in gear. Like, you could pick up like a Six Moon Designs tent for like $200, or which is very lightweight, or like a Lanshan tent. But the other thing I want to bring up with tents that you just got me thinking about, because I just looked this up. Can you guess what the most expensive tent at REI is and what that price is?
Okay, most expensive tent at REI. Well, I know that REI started carrying the Hyperlight stuff, but they're big on the Big Agnes. It's got to be one of the Big Agnes ones. And I'm guessing, I'll say, like, are you saying for like a 2-person, or are you talking like for like any size, any whatever?
Any size, anything, yeah.
Oh, well, that's got to be some sort of like Big Agnes, like 6-man, $900 tent. Am I close?
Not you're an order of magnitude off. It's a $10,000 rooftop tent for a car.
Oh my gosh.
$10,000. And if you look at like the most expensive tents, it's like top 5 rooftop. I don't know what the deal is with rooftop tents, but they're insanely priced. They cost more than my car, like double the cost of my car.
$10,000. Okay, yeah. So you got me on that one, man. Yeah, not even close. Okay. I was thinking backpacking style, but people like sleeping on the tops of their cars, apparently. And yeah. Okay. I'm speechless. I got no response. All right. So okay, that was my number one. Was tent magnitude. That's a good word. So I'll stick with that one. What you got for number 2?
Number 2 is Gore-Tex, and that's for the same reason as merino wool, in that they make a lot of promises. But I think it ties into a little bit more as to what you're saying. A little, I think you kind of hinted at, as far as like monopolies with gear, or like people feeling like they need to have a certain piece of gear. And I know a lot of people, like, they won't buy a shell or a rain jacket that's not made with Gore-Tex, just because the Gore-Tex has done such a good job making their name known and being like the pinnacle for quality. And then they've attached themselves very strongly to brands like Arc'teryx, who are considered a high quality brand because of their prices and everything. So, but Gore-Tex's technology is decades old. It hasn't changed, even though they've changed the names of everything. Their technology hasn't changed. And at this point, I think it's outdated technology that doesn't perform in the way that people want it to be performing, as far as like the breathability aspect. Like, it's going to keep you waterproof. It's going to block the wind. It's going to be durable. But if people want something that's going to be a little bit more breathable, it's really not going to be the right product for it. And I think it's overpriced. There's a lot of other products that perform just as well that are a fraction of the price.
Right. I mean, the whole concept of like waterproof and breathable sounds amazing. Like, the water can't get into like your body. Like, it can't penetrate the shell, but your sweat can. It can go the other way, right? Like, it sounds magical. I think we did an episode a few years ago on this where, like, I think I had to look up like the science behind it, but it was like scientifically impossible for it to be raining outside and for your Gore-Tex to be like, wicking sweat away and having it evaporate through the jacket. Like, it was just scientifically impossible. I think the closest thing that could happen is if it was snowing outside, it could kind of work. But then at that point, you don't necessarily need a waterproof jacket or like a rain jacket. You might want another one instead. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good one. Like, that's just a scam out the gate. Like, waterproof, yes, breathable, no, right?
Yeah, exactly. And especially with a product like Gore-Tex, where it relies on vapor pressure as opposed to like air permeability, your body doesn't produce much vapor. So you're having to use your body heat to evaporate that sweat. So you're going to be sweating. You're going to be wet no matter what.
Right. And you had some good vocabulary words in there. I thought the word sublimation somehow fit in there. Is that correct, or does that not relate?
I don't know what what phase change sublimation is. I feel like you've talked about sublimation before on the podcast,
Okay.
and I think you got it. I looked it up.
Okay.
So whatever's in your brain as far as the definition of sublimation, I think you're correct.
I think I knew what I was talking about at the time, but I don't know what it means anymore, so I have to look it up again. But anyway, you sound like you know your vocabulary words, so I'll just stick with whatever you just said.
I used to be a scientist.
Okay. Trust Justin's thoughts then. All right, so I feel like all of my answers could really revolve around the tent industry. I'll just do two. So I got one more tent one. All right.
Yeah.
And this doesn't apply to all brands. This applies to a lot of the ultralight brands, though. When they say that a tent is like a 2-man or a 2-person tent, I just think that they're misleading or just downright lying. I just think they're liars. I think that if you're talking about like throwing like a couple supermodels in there, or or throwing some like ultra marathon runner, like really slight men in there, like you could uncomfortably fit a lot of them in some of those 2-person tents. But a lot of times at best, it's like a 1.5, where it's like you and a dog, or you and like a little kid, or you and some gear. And so I think that they're misleading people with the labeling of the tents. What do you think about that?
I agree. How big are you? Like, how tall and how much do you weigh? Just to get personal.
Let's play the game. Let's play the guessing game here. Based on just having listened to me and seeing just this as far as me on the YouTube channel, what would you guess? Big guy, small guy, medium?
So the fact that your head is kind of like right at the top.
That's just bad camera work on my end.
So I'm gonna guess 5'11",
Okay.
170 pounds.
Hey, not too bad. Yeah, I'm like 6'2", 6'3", and I'm down to 183-ish. So yeah, I was a lot bigger a few months ago. I was like at 203 about like back in December. So I've lost a chunk, but yeah. So I know that like for me, I think I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say like I might be more sensitive to this because I'm not fitting in the tent, but
you're on the taller end. Like I don't think there's really any tents made for like that are well designed for over 6 foot, especially up to 6'3". But I probably consider myself like as average as you can get for size. Like I'm 5'10", 180 pounds. I fit into like a size medium pretty much across the board, maybe a size large sometimes.
Okay.
But and I have troubles fitting in these tents. So I agree with you. Like I don't think 2 of me fit into 80% of 2-person tents out there.
Okay. I will say that like early days, talk about, when you owned your tent forever, I had like a Sierra Designs, like Night Watch something. It was a 2-person tent. And one of my best buddies at the time back in college was the size of an NFL tight end. So he was 6'5", and like all he did was lift weights. He was just super muscular. And we got into the middle of a hailstorm where we had to hang out in the tent, just him and me, for a long time. Man, we had plenty of space. So I know they're trying to, I get the thought they're trying to trim weight. So I totally get it. And they want to package it down. They just got to be real with their, like label it as like a 1+ or a 1.5. So that's all I'm saying.
Exactly. I think that'd be smart. I think tent manufacturers also need to keep up with the times as far as pads are getting wider, pads are getting thicker. Like they need to accommodate for that, because most people are carrying 25-inch pads these days. And if you can't accommodate 2 25-inch pads, you're probably not a 2-person tent in this day and age.
No, I got a tent. It's like, I don't know. It's like the Big Agnes Seed House. It's like I've had it for a while, and that I can actually fit in pretty well. That one I feel like is a true 2. Like I've been in that one with Derek, but you're right, with the extra wide pad, like that's not happening. So 100% on that one. All right. Next one. You got one more?
I got one more. And I kind of alluded to this one in the beginning. That's tent footprints.
Yes.
And with this one, I think it's kind of a it's twofold. I think it's a throwback to back in the day when tents were not as durable. But even then, like I've never used a tent footprint, and I've never had a tent just wear out on me. So it's like I can see like, but maybe if there's like pokey things or something, but just clear those out before you put your tent down, or like walk around, set up a manual footprint. I think the other thing that I think we're seeing with it is that it's kind of like when you go to Best Buy and you want to buy a TV, and they offer you like the 3 years of insurance or whatever. Or, like,
That's
coverage.
the scam right there.
People are walking into REI and they're buying a tent and they're like, but do you want the footprint insurance? Like, this will keep your tent lasting longer.
Right.
People are like, well, yeah, I want my tent to last longer, and for $50 extra, it seems like it's worth the investment. But I think it's a waste of money, and then also a waste of weight to carry on trail.
Okay, I mean, you're speaking my language, the footprint stuff. I will say that we got a tent. I think it was like version 1.0 of one of the Outdoor Vitals, like one-man tents. This is like years ago, and that one now has holes in the bottom. It wasn't me that was using it. It was one of my buddies. I don't know what the scenario was, but that's like the only tent I've seen with holes in the bottom. The other question I had was I've heard a lot of people that have the really expensive tents where they like they're that the material is really thin, so they want something down below because it's more likely to kind of chafe or get those little mini holes. What do you think about that? Is it worth it for the really expensive tents, or you think that those are still solid enough where that's not gonna be a problem?
I think maybe it depends on your, like, who you are as a user. Like, if you're someone who is like, I can't even really think of a scenario where you're like rubbing your tent along the ground. Like, I set my tent up, I put my sleeping pad on it, and then that floor doesn't really move very much.
Okay.
If at all at that point.
Okay.
So like I've used a couple of Z-Packs tents, like expensive floors, and Dyneema is not the most abrasion resistant fabric, and they've been going fine. Like, not even like a hint of wear, like potential holes in them. And I don't use a footprint. I'm not even I'm not that careful with how I set them up or where I set them up either. So
I think the key is that you're sleeping by yourself in the tent. So you start sharing tents with buddies who want to like wrestle around and start body slamming and throwing, like, then there could be an issue. It sounds like.
If you're wrestling in your tents, you might be running into some issues, and maybe someone needs to make a wrestling specific tent with like a 120 denier floor or something.
Yes,
I'm interested to see this trip in July. This is you're really painting a picture.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it before we hit the record button. You're talking about how you typically go by yourself. I'm like, okay, you go by yourself, and you want to join a trip with like 8 dudes. It's not like 1 to 4 or 1 to 3. You're like, this is a full on like big time trip here. Are you need to like peel off in the wilderness and be like, I need some alone time? Like, are you gonna be all right?
I'll be okay. I'll go on a little alone time trip afterwards, maybe to recharge. But no, I'm really excited for it. I'm curious about what the dynamic. I've never backpacked in that big of a group, like that big a group. I've done a 7-person group, but I knew everybody in that group. So this is like people I don't know and a big group. And I've already started thinking about like some fun ways to get some interesting content out of it. I'll probably do some bingo. Just like it's gonna be called 8 Dudes Go Backpacking Bingo.
On the bingo card, pack over 50 pounds. Oh wait, check out the gate. That was an easy one.
Yep. I've like 7 different items here for the bingo card right now, but pack over 50 pounds. I'm out to get that in there, and people will be able to play along from at home. And
all right.
Looking forward to it.
I've been standing around waiting for 30 or more minutes. Check multiple times. Day 1. I've asked myself the question, we are already packed and ready to go. Why are people packing again for the second time now that we're at the trailhead? Yeah. All right. Sorry. I could go on and on. Yeah. It's all worth it though. Like, we have a great time in the end. But I do remember this is like where we camped out the night before one trip. And so we had to pack up from camping and then pack our gear to make it backpackable. And so then we had to drive a 1/4 mile to the trailhead. So we all packed up, our gear's ready to go. We load the backpacks into the car. We just have to park somewhere else because of, the permits for the parking. We get out of the car and there's like gear everywhere again. And I was like, we just packed up and we're ready to go. And now people have gear strewed about. So that could happen. Just FYI.
I feel like there's a few characters potentially based on some of the videos I've seen of your trips too. So
when there are characters on a backpacking trip, you have to put up with more, but it's totally worth it. So at least in my opinion. But
exactly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, I got one more on my end here. Oh man, maybe I'll go 2 more because I got 2 that I feel really strongly about. Let's see.
You got it then.
All right. So one is the freeze dried food. I don't know if this is gear, but it kind of like, goes in your backpack. And I'm going to specifically pick on Mountain House chicken and rice, $11. Chicken and rice, 3 ingredients: chicken, rice, spices. That's it.
Yeah.
$11. Some of them are like, fancier ones like lasagna that have multiple ingredients and have meat and that kind of thing. Same price. So why is the chicken and rice $11? I think there's some price gouging going on there. And so I'm not a big fan of the Mountain House, like, with the very basic ingredients, or the mac and cheese, which is just essentially just the Kraft macaroni and cheese kind of, dollar at the store kind of thing. And then go ahead.
They haven't really changed up their meals in the last 10 years either. So it's not like they're investing a lot of money into chefs and innovation. So maybe bring the prices down a little bit.
Okay, Jess, you got to put this down for me. There's a couple companies in the backpacking industry that are like this. They are literally sticking with what they have. Other companies are coming out and competing and doing better than them. Yet these companies are surviving. Like how? How is this working?
I in a lot of cases, I think it's just good marketing, maybe, and people don't like change.
Right.
Probably a little bit of column B.
Right.
But like Gore-Tex is an example. Like I think it's just great marketing, as well as maybe some aggressive practices with outdoor with retailers, where they're saying like you have to carry our stuff and not carry other people. So like brands like Polar Tech with their Neo Shell kind of got just destroyed in the market because no one would use their stuff because of bullying from Gore-Tex.
Right. Bullying. Okay. Let's pretend that Gore-Tex is at the outdoor retailer show. And I don't know if you're planning to record like video, audio, you're doing this for your video YouTube channel or for your podcast. Are you the guy who's going to go up and like challenge the companies? Are you going to say something like, hey, so Gore-Tex, like waterproof, breathable, yeah? And they say, yeah. And you say something like, have you always been a liar? Like, is that you?
Maybe not an outdoor retailer. I'm not good at thinking on my feet like that. So if they came at me with some like really smart, good response, I'd just be like, "Oh, okay, sounds good," and then
I'll react later.
Yeah.
I'll react behind your back later.
Yeah, I'll try show my YouTube channel behind your back.
Okay,
but I do plan on bringing some of these brands onto the podcast and asking them some pretty tough questions about their products that I don't think are living up to the promises. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So you are going to be asked pointed questions then.
Yeah. Okay. That's my goal and I'll let brands kind of not answer, but I feel like a no comment speaks for itself as well.
All right. You have to. Okay. Here's some unsolicited advice about that. Is if you hit on some pretty big brands, you got to make sure you talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. We had, so I interviewed Sawyer a couple of years ago, and I was so excited because I was going to like challenge them on their snake bite kit. I had all sorts of stuff. And it was like somebody who was very young, this very nice lady who was just so excited to be on a podcast, but she didn't, she like wasn't super experienced with the company. And they just were like, hey, why don't you just get some experience talking, like public speaking kind of a thing. And I was like, I can't challenge that. That's not appropriate. Mm-hmm. So anyway, you gotta make sure you're talking to the right person.
I tell them I don't want your marketing rep or your marketing person. And I encourage them very highly to give me the engineering person, like a designer engineer, because otherwise the person probably won't be able to answer the questions otherwise. So it's
Gotcha. All right.
And so far they've all been good about sending over knowledgeable people. Maybe not the most engaging podcasters, but they've all done great. And I think they surprise themselves when they pop on the podcast and just start nerding out. It's been fun.
Right. Well, we had the guy, I don't know how well you know him, but we had the guy that designed the Mystery Ranch, or is designing the Mystery Ranch packs currently. It's like the son of, his name is Dana. Like Dana Designs was the original pack company. And so we had him on like at the Outdoor Retailer show, and he was like super engaging. And I could have kept on talking to that guy. He was like super fun to talk to and had very thoughtful answers with everything. So you just never know who you're going to get. But anyway, all right. Last one I want to share is bear canisters.
Interesting. All right? Yeah.
I don't know why this is a scam. I don't know if there's like a partnership between national parks or specifically like the Sierra, national park system, the Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Yosemite. I don't know, but I will say, so we just had a Canyonlands trip and we still haven't done a trip report on that. That's coming, folks. It's coming, but I had, they require you to bring the bear canisters in Canyonlands. A bear has never taken food from a backpacker in Canyonlands ever, and rarely shows up. They rarely come down from the high country. And so, but they require not the Ursacks, but bear canisters specifically. So one guy, Nate from Colorado Springs, followed the rules, had a bear canister. He had it like up high on his pack. And when you're doing desert backpacking, like you have a pretty hefty pack on. And so at one point, as we're like clambering over some rocks, it slipped out and just kind of like fell a little ways, not very far. And the lid popped off. And I know that bears can pop off lids. Bears can, even if they can't get the lid off, like they'll roll the cans away from your campsite if you're in a bear centered area so that you might not ever find your food again. Like this just seems like just an all around like bad solution to a problem. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know much about bear canisters, but I've heard some stories about bears figuring them out, as well as like pushing them places and like pushing rocks on them, or like pushing them off cliffs, and like trying all sorts of things to get into them. And I think you kind of have a catch. Would it be a catch-22 where in areas where the bears are very smart, like the bear canister is probably not going to work anyways. Yep. And in areas where you don't have habituated bears like that, you probably don't need a bear canister.
Right. Correct. 100%. And so the areas that you do need one, I would just say put in those like bear wires where you can kind of raise up your pack or raise up your food bag or the smelly stuff, and put those in like the high centered areas where the bears know where to go. You don't have to put it in the backcountry, bear lockers. Did you see the video? There's one, I think it was in like the Banff area, where like the bear got like figured out how to open the bear locker.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I remember seeing that, and I saw that bear when I was at that campsite. It was on the Great Divide Trail.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't see it open the lockers, but it was circling around.
Right.
At that point still, but that was crazy being able to figure that out.
The wires are way cheaper, I think, than the bear boxes, and definitely the bear lockers. And so, anyway, I just think this is a big old scam, and they've been requiring this for years, and it's just not. It's not solving the problem. The bears are still aggressive with the food. And so I think it's time, folks, to say no to bear canisters if you can.
Yeah. I think if it's areas where there's enough people going, they need to put in either the wires or lockers that have like a double clamp system on it. And then that makes it easy for everybody.
Absolutely. So,
and if it's in the backcountry, then the bears probably, if it's in the super backcountry and it's random camping, bears probably aren't habituated to those areas, and you can get away with an Ursack for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Yeah. Anyway, I think we agreed on all these, man. This is, you're talking about controversial stuff, but this is, I mean, or I guess I didn't agree with everything you said because you're just more knowledgeable than me, but I'll take it.
We'll see what the comments say.
Exactly.
If anyone disagrees.
Exactly. Well, there's more. I got more on my list. We'll circle back. We'll do like a part 2 this episode at some point, but
yeah.
All right, before we get to trivia, Justin, I got to do a review for a Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest 55-liter backpack that I've recently tried out, gotten a hold of, and these are very popular. They're lightweight. A lot of folks that I trust that know their gear stuff use these packs, so I was really excited to try this out. You said you wore it for a little bit. What was your experience with it?
Yeah, I got to test it out briefly on a trip, and I was curious about it too because I think it's one of the top 3 most popular packs on like the CDT, AT, PCT. It's out there all over the place, but it was pretty good. The only problem I had was I have pretty short, stubby arms and inflexible shoulders, and I couldn't reach the water bottle in the side pocket.
Okay.
When I was trying to get it, and that's a problem with me with a lot of packs. So I need a pack that has specifically made side pockets.
Well, you're being very humble. I think this is a problem with most packs where like some of the packs have the angled like pocket you can kind of reach around in, but most packs you can't, or if you can grab it out, you can't put it back in. You got to have somebody else put it back in, or you take your pack off. So every once in a while I have a pack where I can actually like kind of get it. It just depends upon how full my pack is too, how tight that is up against that pocket. But anyway,
what it was like for you with this pack, were you able to grab it?
I think I was.
Nice.
No, man, that's a great question. You put me on the spot here. I'll go back and try. To be continued on that one. But all right. So if you want like the deeper dive with gear and the design behind it, you got to check out Justin's podcast. Maybe he'll do an episode on Hyperlight Mountain Gear. But we do the case kind of the surface stuff. 2.2 pounds for size medium. It's designed to comfortably carry 40 pounds. I think that it achieves that. It's made from the DC 150 material, which is, abrasion resistant. It's water resistant. Some people don't bring like the pack covers as a result when they're, using this pack. So they're saving an extra piece of gear, cost, and weight there. And then I think this could be a solution for somebody who's looking for kind of a trimmed down, lightweight pack that's somewhat versatile with the kind of weight that it can carry, who doesn't mind going with a few luxuries. Like it doesn't have the top lid, for example. It doesn't have a lot of extra pockets. It's just a very simple design pack, and it has an adjustable frame. You can kind of play around with the metal bars in it and try to adjust it to your personal frame. But what I will say is sometimes when I'm packing, I fully load out my pack, and so I tried this fully loaded out, so it's maxed out. And I'll show you, for those that are on YouTube, I'll show you a video of me walking with it fully loaded out. It's dang tall. All right. So I was on a local trail with it, and the pack hit a tree branch that I was not expecting, because my pack doesn't typically hit a tree branch that's at that, that high basically. And it kind of caught me by surprise. And so it looks like this long tube. And I just don't know if it works or if it functions the way that I want it to when it's fully loaded out. So that's kind of my one knock on it, which for me, it's kind of a big knock because I'm already pretty tall. So I'm already ducking below tree branches as it is. So yeah, that's
was it above your head when it was fully?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know you can't see the video yet because I
crazy.
haven't inserted it, but yeah, it goes above my head. So that's why, like, I didn't have to duck for the tree branch, but I did because of the pack, and I wasn't expecting to. So I was like, oh, it kind of caught me by surprise. So yeah,
I do like the roll top for that versatility, though. You can kind of roll it down as little as you need, or you do have that extra volume if you're if you're gonna really load it up like you did. But I like the more simple basic design packs like the Hyperlite Southwest. I like that design, and the materials. I have a pack made from the same material, and it is nice to not have it absorb moisture when it's raining or snowing.
Okay.
It's a nice feature. Then you don't have to dry the pack out. It's not holding on to a lot of wetness.
So you don't bring like a pack cover, or do you have like an interior pack liner, or what do you do?
I always still use a pack liner with it.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I have their winter version for like ski touring and winter ultralight trips.
So I know that some people will not even use the pack liner. They'll just have whatever that needs to be waterproof will be in some sort of water resistant or waterproof bag, like their sleeping bag, for example, inside the pack. So some people are really skimping on that. But overall, I think, for what you're saying, like a trimmed down pack, like I'm taught, my issues when it's fully loaded out, and not everybody fully loads it out. People that are more efficient with their gear. I was just, taking on a training hike at that point, and that's kind of what that looked like. So so it could be a solution if you're looking for a lightweight pack and that rides well. A lot of the lightweight packs don't carry the heavier weights all that well if you just kind of pack in water, like you're going to the desert or whatever. And so that could be a solution for you. So that's that. All right. I got scam trivia, Justin, for you coming up after this. All right. Scam trivia is brought to you by Vaucluse Gear. Want more ventilation on your back when backpacking? Looking to sweat less on the trails this summer? Check out Vaucluse's Ultralight Ventilation Backpack Frame, an accessory that installs on your favorite pack and creates a ventilating airflow gap. The Generation 2 is being released right now. Don't sweat the big stuff. Use code blisters for $10 off at vauclusegear.com. All right. So here's the scam trivia. You got to decide if what I'm describing to you is like authentic, essentially like not a scam, like an authentic product or a scam product. That's it.
So true or false, or like scam, no scam?
Authentic or scam, yeah.
Okay. So 50-50 chance.
50-50. If you're like Derek, and then it's kind of more than 50-50 because like I'll say true or false and he'll say yes. And that is technically incorrect. And so you got to follow along. Authentic or scam?
All right.
All right. And so what I mean by that is like, does it do what it says it does? Is it like, first of all, is it real? Does it do what it says it does? And if it kind of doesn't meet that criteria, then it's a scam. All right. Okay. Number one. Gossamer Gear's Crotch Pot. All right. Are you familiar with this product?
I am familiar with it.
I thought you might be.
I haven't been able to try one out yet, but it's on my list because I don't like cold soaking.
It's not cold soaking. It heats up your food, man. All you got to do.
It's like it's in between cold soaking and heating it up.
Right. So you put your cold soaked food your chicken and rice. It's inside the crotch pot, and then you put it inside your pants and let your body heat it up.
Hmm.
Authentic.
So,
what do you think?
So I'm gonna say authentic.
Okay.
I'm
Because
not sure what the temperatures get to, so I'm
all
not
right.
sure if you're like cooking chicken with it, but
Well, it's just rehydrating. So you're not really cooking, I guess, right?
yeah. Maybe
you don't
if
put
like
raw chicken in there.
what happens if you like go to bed with it down there and then you wake up
Oh,
8 hours later? It's kind of like a crock pot.
a
Crotch pot?
crotch pot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I slept with my chicken. I have a feeling that's not edible at that point. Just say.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Might have some funky flavors in there.
Yes. Okay. So you're saying authentic. All right. So like since you haven't used it, I haven't used it. So I had to actually go with what reviews they had on there. Like, did it actually do what it said it did? And they didn't have very many reviews on their website. I think they had 8, and it's been out for a while. And it was like 5 stars, man. Like everybody was saying that it was like kind of ridiculous, but that it worked. So correct.
I'm gonna get one.
Yeah.
I'm announcing it right now. I'm gonna get one of those. I'm gonna do full on scientific tests of temperature and everything like that. See rehydration times and compare that to like hot boiling water. We'll see. Yeah, I'll come back and let you guys know. Maybe I'll bring like 8 of them for everyone on the trip in July.
Right. Well, we had Lloyd on our show back in January. Lloyd from Garage Grown Gear. And so I was running some ideas by him, like that was kind of like in this vein of thought here. And he's like, that stuff sells. Like people buy that stuff, like you're not going to sell a ton of that stuff, but it's, it's kind of a conversation thing. So they've had it on their site for a while. They're still selling them, man. I don't know how that's working. All right. Next one. This is not necessarily related to backpacking, but it could be. All right. This is something that recently sold at auction for $20,000. All right. It's called a vampire slaying kit. $20,000. All right. This is a vampire slaying kit that was once owned by the former administrator of British India more than 2 centuries ago. I don't know who ended up with it, but they sold it for $20,000. It's a lockable box. It contains like a long and chilling list of items like a crucifix, a wooden mallet, brass candlesticks, and some Metropolitan Police paperwork from the era. So authentic or scam? What are we thinking here? $20,000 it sold for.
I feel like that exists, but I'm not
It
not
does.
sure.
I'm telling you, it does. I'm telling you, it exists.
I'm gonna say scam.
Scam. Okay. So what you're suggesting is that if you were to purchase this, if you could afford this, and you encountered some like backpacking vampires, you don't think it would work?
I think you need. I think you need some garlic in there. Like I'm not sure. I didn't hear garlic listed, but I've heard garlic is really effective. Like maybe some silver. No, silver's for werewolves. So
yeah, right.
Yeah,
there's probably some crossover effects though. Probably can't hurt. Silver can't hurt the vampires. Okay, so the garlic, like this thing's 200 years old. This whole kit. So the garlic, would you use the garlic that was 200 years old?
Probably wouldn't be as effective.
Yeah, might lose its potency.
Yeah.
Why does the British India, like administrator of British India, why does he have this? You think? Like, are there a lot of vampires in India?
I'm guessing it's part of just like the welcome kit. Like you become an administrator of a British colony, you're part of the Commonwealth. It's like, here's your saber and vampire kit.
Saber and vampire kit. All right. This is a scam, man. I don't think there's vampires out there, so I don't think this works either. So, all right. Yeah. You've passed trivia. The third one you already had on your list. I just threw it on there for fun. It was the footprint. Authentic or scam?
Yeah, scam.
Scam. Oh my gosh. All right. You're a trivia genius. Okay. All right, man. Well, hey, we've hit all the marks here. We've hit all the backpacking scams. We just have tidbits left, and I saved the tidbit section for you. So if you don't mind sharing like what you got going on, like coming up maybe with your podcast and YouTube channel, any good videos coming out or anything we can look forward to, and remind us all how to find you with both of those, if you don't mind.
For sure, yeah. So the YouTube channel, Justin Outdoors. Got May's going to be a very fun month with like content almost every single day coming out through the
Wow.
month of May. It's
Okay.
going to be insane.
Like you talking like YouTube Shorts, or you talking like just full videos, or what do you got?
Kind of everything. Like
Okay.
about 7 days a week, there'll either be a short, a video, a review, or a podcast episode coming out throughout the month of May.
Dang, man. Okay.
Just to get people kind of ready for the season. And a lot of the big focus for May is going to be comfort. So a lot of videos on comfort gear that is the most comfortable, while also saving weight. It's kind of like not just comfortable from like your body feels good perspective, but comfortable on the wallet, comfortable on your back.
Oh, okay.
Sort of thing. So it'll be that's kind of the theme. And then the podcast is Gear Priority Podcast with Justin Outdoors. Searchable kind of everywhere. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And the next guest coming up is Steven, who you guys just had on.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about tents. Like we kind of talked about it a little bit, and we don't think there's that many people in the world who have tested out the amount of tents combined that we've looked at. So we talked about some of the trends for 2023 with regards to tents, and we don't hold any punches. We talk about the most overrated tent and things like that on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you okay? I'm guessing that like we're not going to have similar content. Like you're not going to accuse him of having a fake beard on your episode. Is that accurate?
I compliment his beard. I'm a little bit more gracious with my guests.
That was one thing that after I went back and re-listened to the episode from a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, Derek literally just met the guy and is accusing him of having a fake beard. Like he's got some guts I don't have. So that was probably my favorite part of the whole interview, to be honest.
it was good.
So, yeah, anyway,
you guys stumped Steven a couple of times on that.
He's like, I don't know how to respond. Like, I don't. Like what's going on here. Anyway, so okay, awesome. I'll have the links in our show description, both on YouTube and on the audio app. So check out Justin's audio podcast, video podcast, YouTube channel. You'll be smarter for it. I've literally bought gear as a result of watching Justin's videos, and the gear that I bought, I'm very happy with. So I trust his analysis and judgment. And man, it's been such an honor to have you on the show as a co-host. We so appreciate it. And man, I hope we could do this again.
Yeah, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for allowing me to kind of talk about the podcast on here and talk about some gear scams. I think we helped some people out.
Yeah, and also have companies coming after us at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably more you. So, all right.
Yep.
That's all I got, guys. Have a great week. God bless.